he does not look like a Division I quarterback right now.
We could have a legitimate quarterback controversy. Just a disaster for all those top guys. This schedule is impossible. It's impossible for a good team. When you bring in a 5-star quarterback, your expectation level goes way higher.
Of determining in our own mind what the script is going to say at the end of the story, instead of letting things develop and play out. 2 individuals stand out to me.
The Heisman favorites 3 weeks into the season.
The old phrase, every day's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like the
it's
mentality,
our Super Bowl.
Right? That's what we would say. Is it now like, well, with Prize Picks, we would say we take more. Remember, that's number one. We would also say we try to live up to the hype, right?
Yeah. I mean,
we try to meet expectations.
Right. Like I told my daughter this recently, if you set your expectations really low, you're rarely disappointed. This is a good lesson in life. Tyler understands. It's a Browns fan. Every year it's the same day. It's deja vu. We set our expectations really low, and then you're rarely disappointed because there's no reason to get overly excited. She had a sleepover this weekend, and if she's going into it thinking this is going to be the greatest night of my life, if it's not that, then you're disappointed. I said, if you go into it thinking, hey,
won't be mine.
Some of my friends are going to be there, and it's going to be a good time, so if it goes over that, you go well over it. Hutton, we want to set the expectation for every show to a reasonable extent to where everyone feels satisfied and like we over-delivered on it, unlike preseason college football hype.
No doubt. I think 2 individuals stand out to me. We'll get to them in just a moment. Arch Manning is the first that comes to mind, right? And then there's Cade Klubnik. We'll discuss those. But, Chad, we start with a program that was discussed, like I would say, fair. I think it was a fair discussion of Florida going into the offseason and what they did last year. Going into last season, Billy Napier was already fired and saved his job. Maybe the buyout had something to do with that. But to save his job now, what does he have to do on Saturday?
Well, he's got to win, and I think if he doesn't, the writing's on the wall, and he's going to get fired. But just looking at preseason Heisman hype, Arch Manning was number 1, the favorite. Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier. Those 3 guys have way underdelivered from a statistical standpoint. I mean, Garrett Nussmeier in LSU's offense is not good so far this year. Cade Klubnik is 1-2 as a starter at Clemson. Arch Manning has looked bad even against UTEP. It's not just looking bad against Ohio State on the road. He looked bad against UTEP. He's looked bad against everyone. Lenore Sellers, 5th best odds. Ty Simpson wasn't good in game 1, has looked good in 2 games since. 7th best odds. Then you go down to DJ Lagway, and definitely going to get to him. 5-star talent. A lot of expectations on Florida because of the way they finished last season, and he has not lived up to that hype. That Florida defense has allowed 2 offensive touchdowns all season. The Gators are 1-2. That is a direct reflection on the quarterback, who threw 5 interceptions against LSU on Saturday night. He's not been good enough. Billy Napier, as an offensive guy, has not been good enough. And when you bring in a 5-star quarterback, your expectation level goes way higher than it would have been before. When you bring in a guy that's seen as an overachiever, that is a transfer from somewhere else, you get all the praise as a coaching staff. Boy, they're coaching him up. Look at what he's been able to do with this guy who's been good at lower levels but didn't know how he was going to be here. Meanwhile, you bring in a 5-star recruit from your state, and he doesn't live up to the hype the way DJ Lagway is, you're in trouble as a head coach. And Billy Napier is in trouble for a number of different reasons. But are we guilty in media of overhyping some of these players? Are we guilty of getting too excited? Well, I can tell you one guy who was, Paul Finebaum, because this is what he had to say preseason about Arch Manning.
It is the biggest opening game I think we have ever had, and there are a lot of reasons for it, but the main reason is Arch Manning. I've said it, so I'll say it again. He's the best player we have seen from every aspect since Tim Tebow. Maybe not, he has not proven it yet, but in terms of magic and majesty and buzz, that's where we are. People are going to be watching this game today who would never normally watch a college football game.
Magic, majesty, and buzz about Arch Manning. Honestly, when I go back and hear that, it's the way he presents in the beginning that's the worst. That he's the best quarterback since Tim Tebow. You could have just said he's the most overhyped quarterback. Not overhyped. He's the most hyped going into a season quarterback. The biggest name for a guy who hasn't done anything since Tim Tebow. I buy that, Hutton, but
I
best
don't-
quarterback since Tim Tebow? Absolutely not.
No, and this was just hot take. This was the epitome of hot take.
Engagement farming.
Thank you. Yes, play to the algorithm,
Yes.
right? But this is, I think in my mind, I'm thinking, everyone, did he overemphasized? He oversold this, and then he tries to say he throws in Tim Tebow. I mean, at least with Tebow, we know the results. Everyone got on the Tebow train as things started to develop, and he's leading. I mean, we know the story with him. With Manning, it's just we know the story with Manning's, the family, and how can this guy fail? Maybe he doesn't, but what are we guilty of? We're guilty as sports fans of determining in our own mind what the script is going to say at the end of the story, instead of letting things develop and play out. Right? So we'll see. All of these players, all these coaches have a chance to prove it. Manning certainly does too. But Chad, let's just when it comes to him, within 3 games, Finebaum is now saying this.
He's throwing in the towel, waving the flag.
Listen, I mean, I'm not bright, but I'm not the stupidest person on the face of the earth. I'm out. Okay, count me out. I gave it a shot. It blew up. I like Arch. He's going to be a great player someday, maybe some year, but not this year. It's over. Come on. You can't look at 3 weeks and find a way for the front row in New York. So nice knowing you, Arch. See you soon.
Okay, I do respect Finebaum there because he did more than Mel Kiper's done.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
Yeah, he backed down.
But, Chad, within 3 weeks, it's gone from one to the other. The one extreme to the other. He's out. He's done for. I will say, man, with Archman, he does not look like a Division I quarterback right now. I don't know. I mean, you mentioned this off air yesterday, and you're right. His delivery looks different.
Yeah.
It's just
He looks hurt.
already.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And Brian Kelly, and tied into Garrett Nussmeier, who's been disappointing. Brian Kelly comes out and says, yeah, he's dealing with an injury. We find out after the Florida game throughout the season. And DJ Lagway was dealing with things in the offseason also.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to know what's going on physically.
Lagway was like a secret, though.
With these guys, but they are not getting the job done so far. And, yeah, I mean, Arch Manning just looks pedestrian. Looks like someone that if it was anyone of any other name, we would be talking about who is his backup and when do you pull Arch Manning for the backup. We haven't had a lot of that discussion yet, and here's Texas at 2-1. But, I mean, if this continues in SEC play, when the competition ratchets back up again the way it did in that first week against Ohio State, we could have a legitimate quarterback controversy on our hands with Arch Manning, which is crazy to think about.
Well, and maybe if we want to know the answer, we just turn to the man with the answers. The
old ball coach?
Steve Spurrier.
He has all the answers.
They've got Arch Manning already winning the Heisman, too. Yep. And my question is, if he was this good, how come they let Quinn Ewers play all the time last year? If
even though he was hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's still...
And he was a 7th-round pick.
Yes, exactly.
And Arch is going...
and now they're saying Arch is going to be the first pick.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, well, you only have to ask the coach Sark. Yeah, how come you played that one instead of this one? Hopefully, you'll say because we thought he was better than that one.
Yeah,
isn't that why you played one guy and not the other?
Gotta love this man. And every time I hear the sound of his voice, I think about him coming up to us in the hallway at SEC Media Days and just looking at us, talk to Tim Couch, looked us up and down, and just goes, "Men," and kept on walking. That is Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier should be the consultant. You should pay him to come into your coaches' meetings and just say the obvious thing that no one else is saying, right? Just the thing right in front of everyone's face. Well, I have one question for him. If he's that good, then why'd you start Quinn Ewers over him a year ago? I mean, if that good, just start the kid who's that good. I don't understand that. Very well said by one Steve Spurrier.
So then there's Klubnik, who is, I mean, he's just getting blitzed. And he's not doing anything. He's got happy feet. Chad, I have Clemson as my national champion because of Cade Klubnik. And it doesn't look like this guy has been in this offense, but he has been. Everything's gone haywire for these top guys. Arch is starting his first season. Meanwhile, at Clemson, I can't describe the team that I see. They barely beat Troy. They were down, 16? Or was it 14 nothing? 16 nothing?
16-7. I know they were down at halftime in that game.
I mean, they're very close to being 0-3.
Yeah, and I mean, just a disaster for all those top guys through the first, quarter of the season we're through now. Yeah. We're through one quarter of the year. Just crazy how bad it's been. The Heisman favorites today, so Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier in order, those three quarterbacks. The Heisman favorites 3 weeks into the season, Carson Beck, John Mateer at Oklahoma have replaced them as the Heisman frontrunner. So, look, all of this to say, and you hit on this a little bit with Vanderbilt, we love an offseason in college football. We love a preseason. We spend so much time talking ball just to get to football season, which is relatively short compared to every other major sports season. So that lends itself to a natural overhyping of players, coaches, teams. We see it every year. This is a glaring example of that overhype. And you see it with those top quarterbacks. You see it with the top teams. And Clemson being a classic example. Alabama being another one falling on their face in week one. And Hutton, I think it's just part of the machine of college football that guys are going to naturally be overhyped.
Okay, now let's wrap with the hype of what you mentioned, Lagway coming in. Lagway has also been a reason why I think Napier saved his job. Like it can be a solution, not the issue and the reason why he's gone. But Chad, I haven't thought about it this way. You think that Napier could be fired with a loss?
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I think Scott Strickland is going to be next on the firing squad, too, at Florida. But what he's got going for him is he's got a national championship basketball coach. They just won the national title, so that's certainly helping him, a guy he hired. Florida is 79th nationally in points per game, at 27 points per game. Keep in mind, they played Long Island U in the first game and scored 55. So they've fallen to 79th after opening with LIU and putting up 59 points on them. It's just, this schedule is impossible. All right? It's impossible for a good team. Florida's defense has performed at an elite level so far this year, and you're 1-2. Okay, with a loss to South Florida where you scored, 16 points in that loss? I mean, it's just, it's not going to be good enough. Now, they still have a chance to go surprise someone. That line opened at 8.5, Miami favor. It's down to 3.5, 1 day in. So something is up there, and I do think Florida has the players to go win in Miami. But if they don't, Hutton, it's getting really late early in Gainesville.
Well, they had they turned the football over 5 times, and they still ran 26 more plays than LSU did in that game.
Yeah.
So they do have the play. But so
it's a game that everybody leaves, and there's questions about both Florida and LSU. Even though LSU won by 10, everyone's asking, what in the world's up with LSU's offense?
And when you can't do anything. And you can't do that. You can't ask that question.
No, can't do it. Kudos to Brian Kelly, though. He did come back and apologize to the guy. He said he sent him a nice text and apologized. He opened his press conference saying that he holds himself to a high standard with the media, and he fell below that standard with how he handled that question, and he at least fell on the sword for it.
I wonder what the first question was in that press conference, though, after he apologized.
And on the offense. Yeah.
No. Coach, you guys played really well, though, didn't you? Yeah, on the parade.
Yeah, just go right back to the offense.
That's right.
I love how his example in that press conference was, we ran it great a week ago. They scored 23 points against La Tech.
We ran the ball the final play.
Did you watch the final play where we ran to get a first down? I mean, come on.
Oh, man.
This is one game.
Chad, you know how we restacked the quarterbacks from the draft, the 2024 draft? The next guy can do that, too. Tom Telesco, former general manager of the Chargers and Raiders. He joins us straight ahead here on Hot Mic.
Football's finally back. So's the hard-hitting gridiron action on Prize Picks. Download Prize Picks and use code OutKick and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play $5. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Opportunities now for some quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, what we're seeing and how he started. Mac Jones now is a backup who's now starting. What opportunities do they have given their situation? And Daniel Jones is making the most of it. And we certainly know Mac Jones is with a coach that's known for making the most of it.
Yeah, I think the Daniel Jones situation has been, he just handled it perfectly from his release from the Giants all the way through to his signing with the Colts. So you get released from the Giants. He had a lot of opportunities to maybe sign somewhere else on the active roster. Shoot, when I was with the Raiders, I talked to his agent a lot about having him come and sign with us to help us with our quarterback situation. He decided to go to Minnesota, go on the practice squad, and just kind of, football rehabilitate and learn from Kevin O'Connell, sit back, watch, learn, and then be a free agent at the end of the year and then pick the best spot where you can go in and win a job. So he picked the Colts because I think he thought he had at least a chance, a real chance to go in and compete. And then they have a head coach that's a proven play caller. So you add those two things in, and then their roster is pretty strong. I mean, their offensive line doesn't have a lot of name players, but it's a really solid unit. It's better than the unit he played behind with the Giants. And they had one of the best running backs in the league with Jonathan Taylor that they rely on a lot. An outstanding rookie tight end and a good receiver group. So he has a lot of talent around him. Outstanding head coach and play caller. And he's kind of handled this. I mean, it's hard. You're a first-round draft pick. You go to your first team. Had a little success. Didn't turn out the way he wanted it. And he's done a great job kind of rehabbing his career. And hopefully it keeps going the way it is.
Tom, you've had a fascinating career and working your way up through the ranks with a number of different titles with the Colts organization during Peyton Manning's time as a Colt. I see Peyton as such a film study guy and being so involved in everything that he does. I half picture him walking into your office and breaking down college tape of players you're evaluating as the director of pro scouting or whatever your role is. How involved was Peyton in every aspect of the organization, or am I overblowing the fact that he's someone who's constantly looking at film at all times?
Well, no, he's constantly preparing. I was lucky to be around him for almost his whole career with the Colts. Well, his whole career with the Colts, obviously not with the Broncos. Philip Rivers is very similar as far as the amount of work he put in the inside the building. Yeah, but Peyton didn't do a lot with the college part of it, but certainly the advanced scouting. The teams that we're going to play, he would come to actually one story. So as a director of pro scouting, we had 3 pro scouts and we do these reports on our opponents and, they're pretty thick. They're pretty detailed. And there was a typo on one of the reports on one of the players, and Peyton came right down to the office and said, "Hey, look, you missed this on page 5." And it kind of showed, number one, like he read every single thing you gave him, looking for every edge possible. And the second part was like attention to detail. Like, look, we're not going to make mistakes around here. So I'd never had a player come down, just kind of double checking our work, but that's the way it was. And that kind of raises the level of the whole organization when you know your quarterback and your best player is that much detailed in it. But being a quarterback in this league, a lot of it is what you do Monday through Saturday in the office, in the building, with your game prep, with your film. I mean, he had an office in our building, he had an office at home, constantly watching film, constantly trying to get better.
How much does that help your organization when you're a part of it as a GM or director of pro scouting to have the most visible piece of the organization, the quarterback, be that involved and that prepared? You mentioned you saw it with Phillip Rivers. And what did you see in Justin Herbert when you drafted him that made you think, okay, this could be a guy like those two?
Yeah, very similar. And, all 3 of those quarterbacks, they have different personalities, but what's similar is the work they put in inside the building, in the meeting rooms, on the practice field, in the weight room. It just, it never ends with those guys. And that's the way Justin was. And when you're quarterback, the face of your franchise, when he's, if not your hardest worker, but one of your hardest working players, when you bring young players into the organization and they see your quarterback working like that, that raises the level. It raises the level for everybody because you got other players that come in that say, well, I'm not as talented as this player, but look how hard he's working. So I have to work at least as hard as he is or more to get my career going. So when you have that in your quarterback, the leader of your organization, that he leads by example like that, there's just nothing better.
So you drafted Justin Herbert, and then you were in the draft room last year in a draft where 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12. And you have to be going into that draft thinking you're getting your next Justin Herbert. You're picking 13th. you end up going with Bowers. You get the Justin Herbert of tight ends. But, I mean, 6 go ahead of you. What are you thinking as all those guys just start ticking off the board?
Well, we put a lot of work into draft management. So, most of those quarterbacks, we had a really good feeling they were going to go off before we picked. I didn't think Penix would go off before we picked. We do this for a living, and we try and make estimations and strategy. But, hey, we're not right 100% of the time. So he went off like everybody kind of saw with the Falcons. Like when they put that much money to Kirk Cousins, I knew they liked Penix. I thought they liked him maybe like second round type, that they wouldn't make an investment. I thought they'd go pass rusher right off the bat. But I used to say that every year about the Falcons. I think they'll go pass rusher, and they never did.
That's fair.
But they went Penix. But no, we had a good feeling just where we were in the draft. Most of those quarterbacks were going to go off. I mean, if there's teams in front of you that don't have a franchise quarterback, and you have a chance to take a franchise quarterback, you're going to take them. You have to. So we knew where we were. Our infrastructure at that point, we needed a lot of help throughout the whole roster. This was going to be a multi-year rebuild. So that was kind of the thinking, that we need to add a lot of talent in a lot of places. And, we were lucky to get Brock Bowers there.
So, we haven't been in an NFL draft war room, but we were surprised by Shedeur Sanders and his drop, right? Now, again, we haven't been in on those discussions and everything else. And that's what I wanted to ask. Were you as surprised as we were? And can you even think of something like this where it was that big of a miss based on prognosticators where the player actually ended up being drafted?
I really can't think of one similar. I mean, usually it's maybe due to injury that a player drops you thought would go higher. But this one was different. And I can kind of see, once you get to a certain point, you get out of the second round, get in the third round, if the team's going to take him, knowing he's going to be a backup, do you want to have that? It's not a circus, but there's a lot of distractions that come with that. So I think some teams maybe shied away that normally would take him, at least as a backup. I think he has starter ability. I thought he would go in the first 2 rounds. Is he ready for prime time yet? Probably not quite yet, but I think he has a lot of skills. And I think for the Browns to take him in the 5th round, a potential starter for down the road, I thought it was a great pick. But yeah, I was surprised too. I thought he'd go a little bit higher than that. Quarterbacks are very difficult to find. He had a long history in college of playing a lot of snaps and being productive with it. He's really accurate. Played a lot of football, and we'll kind of see where his career goes from here.
I want to get your insight on some owners briefly. Jim Irsay, just behind the scenes with Jim, and now we see his daughter Carly on the sidelines wearing a headset, listening to the play calls. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. Maybe they do that in their booth, right? But like the note taking that she's meticulous about you've been around that family. Is that par for the course?
What's par for the course with their family is thinking outside the box. And that's the way Jim always was. Jim is one of a kind. So lucky to be a part of that organization for 15 years. But yeah, it's not common to have an owner on the sidelines with a headset on, but I wouldn't say it's totally unusual. Because Carly's been doing it for a long time. This goes back to when Frank Reich was the head coach there, when she was in the sidelines. And her dad was big on all 3 daughters, just learning the business, every aspect of the business, whether it's football, whether it's ticketing, whether it's marketing, whether it's X's and O's. And it looks like, I haven't, been there since Carly was more involved, but I think that's great to try and learn everything from the X's and O's all the way through. And she's on the sidelines and listening in. Actually, think about how fun that would be. I mean, I've been a GM for 12 years, been in the NFL for 30. Never once have I been on the sidelines with a headset on. I think that'd be fascinating to be part of that. Even in the booth, I would not have a headset on. You're just kind of watching like everybody else, but I think that'd be fun to do.
Hey, just on that note, the ACC letting us listen to the replay.
Yes.
I love that.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Well, and the good news, too, if you're on that coaching staff or you're in the front office, is every photo I've seen of her with the headset on, the microphone is not in front of her mouth.
Oh, but look
that's
at this.
good. It's raised up. Point being, she's not giving feedback during the game. Because can you imagine the owner popping in and saying, "No, we're throwing on this play." Yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. And she knows that. You got to let the people you hired, you let them work, and then you do some feedback maybe during the week. But strictly listening in and having some context for later on.
So, what's Tom Brady like?
I'm not there anymore, so I was only there for a couple of months when he was the GM or when he was the owner. So don't have a whole lot of.
Well, I bring that up. Hey, I bring that up only because he's football decision making or whatever it was the report. Like whenever he takes over his percentage of the ownership, was that apparent just from day one? Whenever he walks in or calls in, whatever it might be.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was apparent because I think the vote last year was maybe October or November. You know, we were in the middle of the season.
Okay.
So I don't think he was going to jump in right then. But yeah, I mean, I think long term, look, if you're going to be a part of that situation, you have the background he has, you're going to want to have a say in what's going on, which is, you know, a huge asset to them. I mean, I think if you have someone with that type of background, that type of knowledge, you're going to use it, and that's the way they are right now.
And I'm not asking you this question as former Raiders employee Tom Telesco. I'm asking you as a guy who's been around the NFL for years and years, Tom Telesco. When you see him in the Raiders coaching booth during the game and know that he's Fox's #1 lead analyst and that they came off the decision not to let him go to facilities, a lot of people I trust in media are covering that saying it's really just bad optically for the league when you see that, but it's not like he's getting inside info and sharing it when he's covering a game the way people think when they go on those scouting meetings before the broadcast. What do you think of that decision by the league and what it says from an optic standpoint when you see Tom Brady in that coach's box?
Yeah, well, two things. And when it comes to optics, I mean, we just talked about Carly Irsay. She's an owner. She's got a headset on the sideline. So it's not common, but it's not unusual. And then obviously with the broadcast part of it, I think a little bit's overblown. I mean, I've been in those production meetings before. I mean, it's essentially a relaxed press conference is what it is. I mean, you're in a conference room, so it is a relaxed feeling, but a lot of the answers, most of the answers that teams are giving to the production crew are just more press conference type answers. You're not giving away any state secrets. So I think it's a little bit overblown about how much he's learning in these meetings because I've been in them before. Yeah, not very often you see, but you know what? I've seen other, you know, I think John Elway, when he was sitting in the coach's booth, you know, he would have a headset on. Obviously, he was not part of the broadcast at that time. But yeah, I just don't think you're not getting a whole lot of secrets in those broadcast and production meetings that people think.
Are you a fan of the NFL kickoff rules that they've implemented? Because I like the fact that they tweaked it. I don't think about it being a boring play anymore, and I also don't look at it as like not a physical play. Like I thought I was going to take it like as in like flag football. I don't view it like that. I think it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the percentage of return kicks have skyrocketed, which I'm not surprised. I don't think any team wants to kick a touchback and just give up the 35-yard line. I think last year teams were willing to give up the 30. The 35 is too much. So, look, the kickoff return is one of the most exciting plays in football. It was, you know, I understand why a couple years ago when we changed the rules because it was a high impact, high speed, high impact and space play. There were a good amount of injuries. Concussions were higher. So trying to figure out a way to keep the play in the game but make it safer. And the optics of it still doesn't look right to me. But
I agree.
Once the ball is caught,
weird.
Yeah, once the ball is caught, though, it looks like a regular kickoff return, and we're seeing it's an exciting play, and you're seeing some teams that now have returners that can get the ball out to the 35, 40-yard line. So really hats off. Darren Rizzi from the Broncos was with the Saints. He was behind a lot of this. A lot of coaches, a lot of special teams coaches put a lot of work in trying to figure out this play. And like I said, the optics of it don't look normal yet, but the production of it looks good.
Tom, I know you've done some media work with SiriusXM NFL channel, Bob Papa. Is that something that you're really enjoying, or is this something where you don't really lose that itch? You're still a young guy that you want to get back in the league and get back into a front office.
Tell you what, if you'd have asked me last year at this time that I would be doing SiriusXM NFL radio, I'd said no way. But you know, things change quickly in this league. But I've actually enjoyed it. It kind of keeps me engaged where I have to, you know, stay up to date on everything that's going on in the NFL, all 32 teams. So that's been fun. And it gives me a chance to talk football. Like, you know, where am I going to go right now to talk football? Like, my wife doesn't need to hear it now that I'm home every day. And I'm just trying to fill the void of not working in football. So I'm coaching some high school football in the afternoons and, you know, doing some media stuff on the side. And like I said, football is all I know. It's what I love to do. So we're doing this right now. We'll kind of see what happens next year. But like I said, I'm a football person. I've been in the NFL for 30 years. So this is it's what I love to do.
We're based here in Nashville, and a lot of talk about Brian Callahan and whether or not how much longer he should continue to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. When you see a head coach in Brian Callahan that misinterprets or doesn't know the rule on a catch, the way he did post-game, and that was his excuse for not challenging it. How tough is it to come back for a head coach when that's out there and every fan sees it and you got to come back the next day and essentially apologize for not knowing the rule book?
Yeah, I mean, look, we all make mistakes, and I think part of being a leader is standing up and taking responsibility for it, which he did. I'm a big believer in him as a coach, and I'm not just saying that to be politically correct. I think he's an outstanding offensive mind, and I think he can be a head coach. As you guys know, like a coordinator and a head coach, two totally separate jobs. Coordinator is really all X's and O's, but as a head coach, you're the CEO, and you have a lot of decisions to make. And I think as a young head coach, if you're also the play caller, there's a lot on your plate. So, yeah, sometimes you're learning a little bit on the run. And, yeah, would I have liked him to have known that rule right off the bat? Sure. And I also think after that play, after that catch, the catch, no catch, in his mind, he's also thinking, what play am I calling next? Because he's also the play caller. So you really have to rely on your person upstairs, whoever your game management coach is. And that guy, and I'm not saying that head coach doesn't need to know all the rules. He does. But your game management coach, he has to know that rule book inside and out, and he has to give you quick, concise, educated information to make a decision. And in that particular instance, I don't think he got that either. Because, I think he should have known right off the bat, hey, elbows down, the player's in. So, but like a good head coach, he took responsibility for it. He's bedded for it now. But I think he has all the qualities to be a good head coach in this league. But I will say, as a young coach, and I used to always worry about this, but I usually leave it up to the head coach. If you want to call a side of the ball and be the head coach, it's hard to do. I mean, Andy Reid does. Andy Reid's been doing it for a long time. But you do have to learn on the run a little bit because you're managing the game and you're running the offense. There's a lot to do, but I have confidence in him moving forward.
I got one more for you. So you mentioned Andy Reid. So, and this is where you go from front office to Sirius XM. So I'm fascinated by this to see what the league does because the Chiefs are 0-2, and I mentioned preseason. We're going to have some Chiefs fatigue this season, like a vast majority of people, because they're. I didn't know how good they were going to be, and they're on national TV a lot. They've got 4 national TV games coming up, and they're 0-2. I don't know what comes up this Monday night against the Giants. My point, you know this team well, having been in Vegas. So, what is it about them? It's Andy Reid, it's Patrick Mahomes, but now Kelsey's making mistakes in the red zone. They're down 2 big receivers. They can't get pressure with 4 defensively. These issues crop up early in the season. It doesn't feel like a team that could dig its way out because I'm seeing other teams in their division now actually step up, and the Chargers actually beat them head-to-head, which was, they weren't doing. What do you make of the division and where the Chiefs sit right now and how important it is this week against the New York Giants?
Well, that may be the biggest difference is the division is so good right now, all 4 teams. But, look, the Chiefs have shown, and Andy Reid has shown, they can usually fix the issues they have, and they usually do it in season, both him and Steve Spagnuolo. So, look, this has been a defensive team the last couple of years. Their defense is outstanding. It's a homegrown talent on that side of the ball. They didn't play real well in week 1. They were much better last week, and I think that's probably that's the route they'll go. I mean, Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best in the league. They have talent on that side of the ball. The defense will keep getting better. I think they'll be fine there. Offensively, it's kind of funny. It's like it's a lot of the same offense as last year, and they went to the Super Bowl. Like last year, they had problems at both tackle spots. They're still having the same problems. They don't get a lot from the running game, but they get enough, but it's not a focal point of their offense. And the receivers, it's a smaller group. When they get Rice back, it will help them. You take Juju Smith out of that, and it's a smaller group, like smaller, they're fast, but they're smaller receivers. Yep. But Mahomes usually finds a way to make it work. So there's been no team better at kind of figuring out, okay, this is what we are. How do we minimize our weaknesses as we move throughout the season? I think they were 0-2 last year. So we'll see how they still have Patrick Mahomes.
They do.
The defense it can be really, really good still. But the Chargers are better. The Raiders are better, despite what we saw last night. The Raiders are a better football team. And the Broncos, the Broncos are really talented. They had a bad loss against the Colts, but this is probably the best division in the league. So that's the only difference. The Chiefs will probably figure it out. It's going to just take them, a couple weeks to get there.
I'm not counting them out of the playoffs. I just think they're actually on the road this year in the postseason, and that will be different too. Hey, great chatting with you, man, and keep up the great work on Sirius, and let's do this again soon if we can.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys. I got plenty of time, so you let me know.
This was great. We'll have you on whenever. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys.
Tom Telesco. Good chat there. Yeah,
he goes from Peyton Manning coming in and auditing his scouts and his typos to this.
I'll say in that draft to want a quarterback because they did at 13.
Yeah.
To end up with Brock Bowers is pretty good.
It's a nice consolation prize.
It's not bad
to get someone who might be a generational talent at tight end, who was the clear no-brainer best tight end available over a number of years.
Yep,
not bad at all.
So the Raiders made a decision. They fired their general manager, who they hired a year after. Like, you're going with this plan, and then you're out. The Tennessee Titans got rid of a coach after deciding not to get rid of him a year earlier and not pair him with the general manager and Mike Vrabel. We discussed that and compare it to what the Titans stare down right now. That's next. Sixth and Peabody, our location. Yeehaw Beer and Old Smoky Moonshine. Hot Mike, Honey Withrow here at OutKick.com. Chad, I know he's the media darling, especially with Diana Rossini. Mike Vrabel. I'm on board with this too, though. He's going to crush it in New England, right? It's just a great fit. We know the background there, but we also know what he was a part of here in Nashville with the Tennessee Titans. The intensity, I would say the consistency of the way he coaches. He's the same guy every day, and it's intense. It's an alpha mentality.
He's exactly who he was as a player.
Yes.
He's a guy who's going to rib you at times. He's going to encourage you. He's going to, put his foot in your ass. He's that guy 24/7.
Losing pisses him off.
Yeah. They
lose in week 1, but they get the win against the Dolphins. And look at the intensity level here. Watching this guy. I mean, just running with him, staring him down.
Look at that lean in the run, too. Still looks like an athlete.
Absolutely.
He was flying down the sideline.
And this post is right. The most Mike Vrabel photo of all. This fits him perfectly.
Yep.
This is Mike Vrabel. Chad, what are Titans fans thinking as they see the intensity that this is Mike Vrabel, and then you brought it up with Tom Telesco, a coach who is in response to a question about why he didn't review a call, responded by saying, "Well, not just the elbow, you got to have foot down too. It's foot and elbow." Terry McCormick, who asked the question, didn't know the answer to that question. Two different perceptions there.
Yeah, sports it's something as a fan that's based on hope. I think if you're a Titans fan, you feel hopeless right now. I mean, you look at this and think, okay, here's a coach who's got all the players back, and he's sprinting down the sideline. As corny as it may be, it's a perfect illustration of who Vrabel is and who he's always been and who he was as the Titans head coach. You fire that guy, and you get to Brian Callahan, who, again, seems like a very nice man, who did not know the rule on what a catch was and whose team consistently has more penalty yards than actual yards in a game, as an offensive guru. With a father who's supposedly an offensive line guru, whose offensive line can't stop holding, can't have procedural penalties, can't block anyone in key spots. So I don't know what Brian Callahan and the staff brings to the table other than Bones Fossil has done a hell of a job for the Tennessee Titans. Hats off to him. Their special teams have been awful the last couple of years, and he's been great as a special teams coordinator. So I think if you're a Titans fan, you're feeling pretty hopeless, quite frankly, about the situation with Brian Callahan.
And it could get to the point where the players are like that too. The organization. So I started.
No, I don't think these players for the Titans are good enough to have a lot of say in a locker room, but you're right. Players can also flip the switch off quickly when they feel like their coach is hurting their chances of winning.
Yeah, you want the thing you can't control as a player is the coaching decisions that are coming in, right? And you want Vrabel was risky, he'd go for it, but he was always doing it with the intent to win, right? Like that. In order to do that, you don't throw from your own end zone. You don't do certain things that are going to. The second half football with the Titans is horrendous, awful, terrible. They had 30 yards of second half offense total in Denver and didn't do much better this past week. I started as a sideline reporter for the Tennessee Titans radio network when Ken Whisenhunt was hired. All right, I was a part of those team flights.
It's a bad era.
All right, this was they get season opening wins, and that's it. He's fired midway through the second half of his second season. Chad, points scored. By the way, right now, Whisenhunt, when he was fired, 3-16. Brian Callahan's 3-16. Points scored. Whisenhunt, through this exact same amount of games, 343. Callahan, 342. Points allowed, 515 for Whisenhunt, 513 for Callahan. 18 points per game for Whisenhunt, 18 points per game for Callahan. Offensive yards, Callahan's trailing him by about 400 total yards, and passing yards, about the same. Rushing yards, it's actually Callahan who leads Whisenhunt by about 200 yards. They are nearly identical coaches.
The biggest difference, Hutton, is, and you know this, Callahan's not a dick.
Well, and
that probably gives him a little bit more time, and the benefit of the doubt is that he treats people with respect. He's a nice guy, and Whisenhunt was everything but that to people in that building. He was very difficult to deal with for media and for everyone else around, and that made it a lot easier to get rid of him.
Well,
right?
Yes. But the thing that Whisenhunt didn't have to deal with was an impatient owner who will fire you after 1 year. So he had Tommy Smith, a different ownership situation. Anyway, I give perspective on that because watch out, because who knows with what's going on. Because they have the Titans play the Colts and then the Texans on the road. The game you do not lose as a Titans head coach is the game in Houston. And then the guy that we're about to put back on the screen, Mike Vrabel, could be running down the sidelines here in Nashville at Nissan Stadium looking like this. I think it's week 7. The Patriots come to town. Buckle up. It's going to be a long year in Nashville, and we'll see improvement on the other end in Foxborough.
I would say Titans fans will be really depressed in the stadium that day, but it'll be about 20% Titans fans, 80% Patriots fans in Nashville for that game. So it's really just going to sound like a home game. It's going to sound like Foxborough.
Or a high school game.
Yeah, that too.
Chad, speaking of traveling with teams, we traveled once with Middle Tennessee. Well, just for the hell of it, really.
Yeah.
The setting was incredible. I mean,
beautiful fall weather.
I mean, just the mountains in the background.
We got to throw football on the field.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was perfect football, college football at its finest. But the night prior, the night before, I'll set you up for this. We had a dinner that was also pretty badass. Yeah,
we went to Sundance. So, and I like a lot of people know the name Sundance for the film festival, and Sundance is Robert Redford's place. It's his property, and we went to the restaurant. Photos here of Sundance. Beautiful drive up. It felt like it took forever on a winding road to get up the mountain to go to Sundance, but there's Robert Redford memorabilia around the property. It was very, very cool. And we say all this to present that Robert Redford passed away at 89 years old today. Passed away in his sleep, I think, last night. Robert Redford, the biggest knock on Robert Redford is that Robert Redford always played Robert Redford. He didn't really act. He was just Robert Redford on screen. The same can be said for George Clooney, to which I say, so what? I mean, what a career if you're so charismatic and good at what you do that you can basically act the same way in every role, and it's good every single time out. The Natural, as you see here, one of my favorites was him with Brad Pitt, where he was director and co-star in Spy Game. I think that was 2001. Really good movie. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, obviously. A great career as a director, really starting in 1980 with Ordinary People that won an Academy Award. He became more of a director than an actor, even though his acting career did continue at that point. A River Runs Through It, one of my favorite movies of the early 90s. He directed that. Robert Redford, one of the last icons of sort of old Hollywood, the old school movie star. No longer with us at 89 years old, but what a hell of a career. And again, if the biggest knock at someone is, they didn't really do a lot of different things. They were just always kind of the same character in every movie. I'm thinking, well, good for them because it works.
I'm also thinking, by the way, we should mention All the President's Men.
Yes. Yep. Especially being journalists like we are with a capital J.
Yes.
We like to think of ourselves as journalists with a capital J.
You mentioned that, and it got me thinking, like, he came from an era where everyone did that.
Yeah.
They played themselves, really. right?
Yeah, it was kind of the same thing.
You see the older films he's in. I'm thinking like, well, so did the co-star, or the one, like it was just them. You know, it wasn't like method acting. He's not doing a film with Joaquin Phoenix.
Right. He was like always, charismatic.
Look at this photo though.
Yet serious. That photo goes hard.
Yes, it does.
That photo goes hard right there. That's amazing.
That's awesome.
But I mean, just I think of his modern equivalent as George Clooney.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And that's the thing with Clooney is like Clooney's just Clooney. In every single role, he's George Clooney, which that's not a bad thing. Like not everybody can be Leo, where you're a completely different character in every movie you're in, and you're constantly trying to inhabit some different body and different accent and everything else. I mean, I admire this point about Robert Redford, that he was just always sort of himself.
And then to be able to do that and then go into directing.
Yeah.
And
Indecent Proposal, 1993. Very memorable part also. Yeah.
R.I.P. Robert Redford. Yeah. Chad, fun show today.
Excellent steak at Sundance, too.
Oh, and wine.
Yes. We were with a wine connoisseur that night.
President Sidney A. McPhee.
Yes, going through all the different wine selections.
He knew it. We let him order.
That was the first time I ever drank wine, was that night. I felt like I knew everything, though.
It's the last supper.
Yeah. Outside of communion, that was the first time I actually drank it.
That's right, yeah. All right, back at it for the Wednesday edition. In the meantime, subscribe to the OutKick Hot Mic YouTube channel.